Hold up. This isn't some cheesy kid show. This is Kids in the Tank, a young perspective on business from high school students.
Welcome, Kids in the Tank. I'm Zach, and with me in the tank are Kat, Leah, and Cassidy. Today we are honored to have Jerry Liu as our special guest. Jerry, a YouTuber and social media influencer. Jerry, you're officially in the hot seat.
Hi,
Cool.
Jerry. It's Kat talking. What was your dream job, and how has that changed based on your experiences?
I don't think I've ever really had a dream job. I think at one point I did think my dream job was working with people younger than me, kind of as a mentorship thing. And I guess maybe I kind of do that a little bit now because, I talk to people all the time and I tell them what I think. And a lot of people tell me their problems and I give them solutions or just provide an ear when no one else wants to listen. So I guess I am kind of doing my dream job.
Jerry, did you ever have a mentor yourself when you were younger?
I had people who tried to be my mentor, but they honestly did not lead me down any good path. So what I would say about the whole mentor thing is be careful of people who want to be your mentor. Sometimes the people who want to be your mentor are the people you don't want as your mentor. Sometimes the people who you want as mentor, you have to go seek them out and go ask them.
That's awesome. So I was wondering how your studies at the University of Pennsylvania, did they lead you, how they led you to your current career?
I think I was two things. First, I was kind of a little miserable sometimes, so that kind of made me think about, okay, am I doing the right thing? And the second thing is a lot of what I did, it made me think, right? I was always thinking and challenging my thought process, and I think that really helped me because that's what I do every day on YouTube. I think with my audience, and I challenge myself and I challenge my audience.
Thank you.
So this is Leah talking. You just mentioned you're a YouTuber. What's your biggest struggle as a YouTuber, Jerry?
I think my biggest struggle is how to, I have a lot of audience, right? But how do I get them to be more involved, whether they can help out on my channel sometimes or help me with other things? Basically, how to turn your audience from passive viewers into something more active. And I've tried different things. For example, I created a Discord account for my audience, but I had to get rid of it because it was just a time drain. It wasn't leading to more revenue. So this is something that I'm still just feeling challenged about, and it's something that probably I'll spend another few months trying to figure out how to solve.
So it's gotten really popular for some YouTubes to do meet and greets if they have a large following. Is that something you'd ever be interested in?
It's something that I have kind of done sporadically. So I haven't really done anything big, but I do meet up with any audience members that want to meet up with me, as long as they're not crazy, of course. So you asked a good question, which is, hey, maybe that's a way to get audience members more involved. Maybe a few audience members can help me with this, and then we can do a bigger meet and greet, 50 people or 100 people or 1,000 people. But that's a little too ambitious for the first time. But why not, right? That's the thing. You think big. So, yes, good question.
Thank you.
You've been involved in the media boom your entire career. Where do you see it going from here? How important is it to you?
So I think there's two things that are going to happen. One is media is definitely going to move more and more towards the smartphone. I mean, it already is, but it's going to get even more. So that's one thing. Actually, there's 3 points. So that's the first one. The second point is there's definitely going to be more and more implementation of augmented media and virtual reality and all this stuff. Even you saw me wearing those earbuds. I can walk into rooms. I don't even have to have my phone or my computer with me, and I could hear stuff. And there's all these companies everywhere that are just developing all these things you can put on your glasses or put on your phone to make it more interactive with the room. Sometimes they call it Internet of Things. Basically, everything in your room is going to be kind of a smartphone or have the ability to interact with you. That's the second thing. And the third thing is China's a big market, and there's more and more potential in China for growth, but there's also more and more companies coming over and media coming over from China. So those are 3 trends.
Don't lie to us, Jerry. Are you a supporter of iPhones or Samsung?
Oh, I like iPhones.
Okay.
iPhones all the way.
Are you like all the tech savvy with the iPads and Apple Watch and everything?
Honestly, no. I keep it pretty simple. For a while, like those little earbuds I had were the first ones I got. I was pretty happy with just, okay, you have an iPhone, blah blah blah. But you have to adapt with the times, right? So yeah, and iWatch maybe I'll get eventually, but yeah, I'm not as tech savvy as maybe you guys are, of course.
Do you think it's hard if kids our age or like upcoming generations and stuff, like if they choose to be more old school and they don't want the phone, they think it takes a toll on like mental health or it creates other problems, like they just choose not to use as much technology, would that create a problem in the future for them?
I think that's a very good question, and I'm kind of split on this. On one hand, if you don't use technology so much and you actually spend your time, let's say, learning about the world through books or interacting with people face to face more, it might improve certain things, right? Part of the reason why some people have like basic issues even talking to each other is because we're always on our phone. It's like, so I see that benefit, but of course there's the other side, which is if you don't get with the times, eventually you're going to become obsolete, right? If every job in the future requires you to know how to use an iWatch or whatever comes next, and you don't even know how to use an iPhone, then you're going to have a learning curve.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was wondering, do you think that kids like in elementary school should have iPhones or like Samsung phones? Or do you think they should have like the old flip phones or the slide ones where you have to type on the tiny little keyboard?
Well, when I went to high school, all of us had flip phones. So, and when I was in elementary school, we didn't have any phones, right? But I also look at classrooms and I see how they've been using iPads and how they've been using, augmented media to help the instruction. So I think to answer your question, what I would say is I think schools need to teach kids as much as they can all the technology, right? You guys are the quickest learners, but probably limit how much you guys get distracted by the technology yourselves. So if you guys have your phones with you and you're like texting back and forth or cheating with the phones, then that's probably not good. So just thinking off the top of my head, if I were a teacher, I fight for my classroom to have as much technology as possible that I could use to teach. But I would probably collect all your phones in the beginning of the class and put them in the front of the room or something like that.
So I have a question more about your personal life. How are Chinese relationships different from American relationships in terms of significant others and your family?
Wow, you should be on my channel, man. That's a great question. So what I would say is, you're open, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, definitely get permission from your parents and then let me know. But anyways, to answer your question,
I'm 18.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Contact me later then. Okay. So to answer your question, it really depends on if they're Chinese American or Chinese, and this is something that my recent videos on responding to the sociology lectures by the professor has been, and pretty enlightening. But Chinese culture is still very traditional. Like I don't know if you know this, but if you're a woman in China and you're not married by 30, they think you have issues. They think you have intense issues.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of pressure in China to not only get married, but have at least 2 kids. So like, even as a man, like, I'm 28, and when I went back to China, they're always like, why aren't you married yet? I'm like, because that's not how it works in the West. We want to build up our own careers. We want to figure ourselves out before we commit ourselves to people. So Chinese culture is very traditional, and in a way, if you're not used to it, you can almost call it oppressive, right? People just live under these arbitrary, you could say it helps the society survive, but it is pretty, the rules are pretty arbitrary in our view, in our American view, but they're also very oppressive. Chinese Americans, I think it depends, and this is something I talk about on my channel, and I'm going to have a live stream with Zach King this weekend soon. Zach King's another Asian American YouTuber, but there's always a generational clash. Like my generation, we grew up mostly in America, but our parents grew up mostly in their respective countries in Asia. So, they want to be more traditional, but we want to be more American. So it's like, how do you find a middle ground? So, if you're if you want to date an Asian American potentially, you might have to be prepared for some of that. There might be some differences in how they perceive relationships and marriage, and what level of conservative they are, their parents, etc. So there's just some things to think about, and these issues go very deep. There are channels devoted to this stuff.
Thank you.
But that's a very good question.
Thank you.
So I really like it when like stuff just connects to school and out of school. And in my college prep class, we just recently read a book called The Joy Luck Club. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but like everything you were saying really connected to that, and how like for the people who don't know about the book, it was about these Chinese mothers who came over to America and how all their daughters are all American, and they want to stick to their original traditions, which are, pretty strict and based on culture and stuff, while the daughters struggle with being Americanized. And I really liked hearing you, like, just talk about that, because that still happens today. Like, if you go back and forth to America and China, you still have those pressuring cultures and traditions and all that.
Yeah, and I think Asian Americans especially, the types that have spent a lot of time in America, or maybe more time in the West than the East, there's always going to be a perpetual identity crisis. And how we as a community, and I'm speaking for myself too, how we solve this is going to be something. Because from my experience, right, I spent a few years in school in China, so I'm a lot more Chinese than a lot of Asian Americans, but I'm still, like, deep down in heart, I'm American. Like, I'm absolutely American, but I can understand the Chinese side. But no matter what, I'm not going to be completely American, right? I got another culture in me, and I'm never going to be completely Chinese, because when I go back to China, they all want to speak English to me. Or students in college at University of Pennsylvania, the students who came directly from China, they would never want to speak Chinese to me. They would speak English to me. So it's like there I knew, okay, they saw me as American. So, how Asian Americans deal with the identity crisis is something that's going to be probably, the next 20, 30 years, until there's everyone becomes American. There's no Asian Americans. But like these 20, 30 years, we're probably going to, this is what I think, and this is just me. I'm not speaking for any Asian Americans other than me. But for example, if you look at Black culture, they're not trying to be African, right? You look at Latin American culture, not trying to be, Peruvian or trying to be Argentinian. They're Latin American. There's distinct and differences between, Black people in America and Black people from Africa. So it's like, I think probably as Asian Americans, that's something we need to do too. It's like we're not trying to be white American, whatever that means in culture. We're not trying to be Chinese or Korean. We got to have our own identity, right? We got to have our own culture. So some of the first generation YouTubers, probably like when you guys were little kids, like if you remember Nika Higa or Kev Jumba, David So, like most of them were Asian American, and they kind of almost shaped a little bit of like a unique Asian American identity. But of course, that kind of fell off the wagon a little. But I think people like me, other Asian Americans in the media, need to shape this unique Asian American identity.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I'm going to kind of like switch the topics completely.
Mm-hmm.
As an influencer, since you are a YouTuber and you do have like such a high following, how do you select the products you promote?
Mm-hmm. So I think it comes down to two things, or maybe three things. One thing is whether I'm interested in it. If you're gonna send me a gardening plant, then I probably won't promote it as likely as, let's say, you send me jiu-jitsu mats, or you send me the latest book on something on philosophy or whatever. So it depends on my interest. It also depends on how easy the other side makes it. So, for example, if they give me a lot of random stupid questions, like I sleep with earplugs in LA because LA is such a noisy city, and this one company wanted me to help them. They're like, "Oh, we'll give you earplugs," and I thought I laid it out to them pretty easily what I can do, and then they just kept asking me questions, and I'm like, "Dude, just leave me alone. Like, it shouldn't be this hard for me to promote some earplugs for you, right?" There was another company I promoted earplugs for them. He just like, "Oh, dude, that's awesome. He just sent me earplugs and I did my thing." But this company kept asking me questions, like, didn't understand basic stuff. So like how easy right, they're asking me for stuff, right? So how easy they make it for me. And the third thing is, of course, if they pay me, then I'm gonna have a higher incentive. If it's a gardening plan, or I don't know, if it's a stapler, but like they pay me $100, then probably I'll check it out.
Yeah, so it's stuff like you're interested in. That's good that you don't just I mean, even if someone paid you, of course you're going to do it, but like you still want to make sure you like the product and you're interested in. And that's
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
a good
And
quality to have.
yeah, and of course, if they fulfill all three, right, then that's even better. I'm interested in it. They're paying me a little bit, and they're easy to deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's time is limited.
So, Jerry, is there any like products that you have an interest in, but you haven't really made any videos on that you'd like to in the future?
Off the top of my head, I think just for fight commentary, I've been talking about this for my audience a lot, jiu-jitsu mats. And there were some, and part of this is because of the LA laws, but if I were in another state, maybe I would potentially even do some videos that are more weapons related. But of course, that's a little iffy in LA, of course. But so those are some products potentially. Some other things potentially that I would want to do, and it's actually good that you asked me. I'm nearsighted, and I want to do more stuff related to eyewear. So potentially review some good glasses, or maybe even review some contacts. And this is something I written in my phone, and I keep forgetting. So the fact that you asked me is awesome because I'm going to get on it.
So this is a little bit of a switch of the topic, but I was wondering what you would like your career path to be in like 5 years, 10 years. What do you see yourself doing?
So my answer is probably not exactly what you're looking for, but this is what I'll say. Right now I generate a lot of what's called passive income. Basically, it's like the income comes to me whether I do much work or not. Like, for example, people who write a book, they have passive income, or let's say, like me, I have lots of videos on YouTube. So even if I don't post anything for a while, I'll still make some money. So I want more sources of passive income, because the more sources of passive income I have, the more I can do things I really want to do and not have to worry about, where do I eat tomorrow? So I want more passive income, and I want to be where the trends are. So, the latest in technology, the latest in what's going on in the world. And of course, China's rising. So I want to have something in China, whether it's just be an influencer in China too, or do other kinds of business, maybe even teach or mentor people. So it's more broad, like a 5-year plan, but that's kind of where I see it now.
Because China is like catching up and becoming such a big like tech savvy influencer, and I know that's important to you to be on with trends and everything. Do you see yourself moving back there, or if you have family there, do you see yourself, going to visit more often so that you can look at the trends over there and be in with trends over there?
Yeah, that's definitely something I'm gonna start doing. So I was in China like a month ago because I went for a wedding, and then I just stayed because I had an injury from jiu-jitsu, so it's like the flight was killing my mind. So I said, I don't want to fly back immediately. So I just stayed in China, I just explored in China, and I felt like that was so helpful. And that's just something that I want to encourage all of you guys to do. Just travel as much as you can, especially to countries that might have something that America doesn't have. Like go to Japan, go to Korea. Go to France, go to all these countries that they're known for something that maybe America's not as known as, or go to China, see their buildings, see their cities, see their technology boom so fast. So yes, that's definitely something I'm going to do.
All right, thank you.
Bouncing off of Cassidy's question, I guess I have a question and a comment. Have you ever taken a sociology class in high school or college?
Actually, this was funny. I was just talking to my mom earlier. I actually regret, that's one of my biggest regrets, is that I didn't really take anything related to sociology. Like in college, I took a lot of philosophy courses. I took psychology. I took economics. So my courses, if you use a technical term, my courses were very micro / maybe macro is not even the right word, but my courses were very micro. Like they focus on the individual a lot, and sometimes they would focus on society or groups. But sociology really goes broad into like little holistic, and there's a word you guys might learn in the future called emergence. From a family to a community, from a community to a society. Like things emerge on different levels that it's too complicated. I don't have to explain it. But the point of my talk is I really wish I took some sociology courses, because it helps you think of society on a different level, and it definitely would help me both as a person and, as a content creator, because one of my channels talks about life.
So I also have a comment off of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Rock Valley College student getting a degree in psychology and a minor in sociology. And I just wanted to say that your firsthand experiences, I have seen so much in sociology, and so I definitely think you pursuing that in the future would benefit you a lot.
Absolutely. I thank you. And Phil, you would be someone that would be a great guest on my channel. So reach out to me later.
I would love that.
Yeah, absolutely. We can
I
talk
will
about
email you.
what you're studying. Yeah, absolutely.
Could you quick explain the difference between psychology and sociology, and what it kind of focuses on?
So psychology starts at the individual, and it kind of goes from there, and then it maybe explores groups, and then it explores, let's say, communities, etc. Of course, psychology is a very broad term, right? There's different branches of psychology. Like if you do social psychology, that's all about experiments. Look at how people are so dumb when stuff like that happens. I don't know if you've seen some of those videos on YouTube and stuff, but there's other forms of psychology. Like there's clinical psychology. So clinical psychology, it's like applying it maybe to help people or do research, right? So there's a lot. You can even implement psychology in the business or the workplace. Like there's all these new ways of implementing psychology. So whereas sociology, I think, is a lot more, I don't know, maybe it's a lot more theoretical. I don't know if that's a good word to describe sociology. And part of it is I don't really know much about sociology, because as the one social science, I didn't really take anything in. But sociology is always studying society, right? Looking at structural problems and the development of society. So it seems very broad, and it seems like it's like they're looking at society from two different levels. Like think about sociology as like looking at people if you were a person flying a plane, whereas maybe psychology is looking at people if you were shining a microscope into let's say a school or something like that. If that makes sense.
That helps a lot, because as someone who's young, and myself and other friends of mine who struggle with mental health issues and stuff, I would love to just learn about myself and learn about the brain and why we do what we do, and from a scientific point of view, but also not really studying the brain, but exactly what can develop in your mind and what factors contribute to mental health issues.
If you're interested in understanding, and that's one of the reasons why I took so many of those courses, why I studied what I studied. I wanted to understand myself better too, right? So definitely take psychology courses, take sociology courses, take them all. I mean, and with psychology, like I said, take a variety. So take a social psychology course, take a cognitive psychology course. And there's so many psychology courses that I think every school offers. I don't know much about sociology and how much they offer, maybe slightly less, just because sociology is not as in favor, I think, in American schools. But still, there's a lot to offer from sociology.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Jerry, thank you for answering all of our questions. We'll now be moving on to our next segment, Flip It, where you'll be asking us the questions.
Okay. So my first question is related to advertising. So what is the social media app you guys use the most?
I would say Instagram and Snapchat. For advertising,
for sure.
Instagram probably beats Snapchat out, because you're scrolling through your feed, and advertisements can pop up more compared to Snapchat, where you're just replying back and forth to your friends.
Instagram is almost not forced on you, but every 4 posts there's an ad, where Snapchat is more enjoyable because they have all these news sites, and you can click on those specifically and watch what you want to watch, where Instagram, it just pops up, and you accidentally like it thinking it's your own post. So most people just ignore it, but Snapchat's more in young kids' favor and stuff.
Where Instagram's just like YouTube, when you go to watch a video, then the ad pops up, you can't control it.
Yeah,
the same thing.
On Snapchat, it's just the only time I actually ever really see ads is when you're scrolling through people's stories.
Yep.
So my follow-up to this question then is, for example, when you're scrolling through Instagram, do you remember the last time you clicked on an ad? And if so, why did you click on that ad?
Personally, I don't use Instagram, so I think they're more better to answer this question. I actually didn't know that they had ads.
I
yeah.
scroll through Instagram probably a couple times a day, but I can't remember the last time that I've clicked on an ad and seen what it was.
If I actually clicked on the ad, it was probably by accident.
I actually do click on the ads. Not a lot, but you'll catch me occasionally, and I can remember what they are actually because I just did the other day. It's usually clothes. Because I'm a girl, it'll be an ad for clothes or a lot of the time shoes. And because I am a girl and all my feed is like beach pictures and all these girls on their vacations, if it's a clothing, it kind of blends in with my feed, so I'm like, oh, that's cute, and it catches my eye because I think it's someone's post, and then I'm like, oh, it's not a post, it's an advertisement, so I go look at it and check it out. I mean, a lot of the time it's useless, but that does catch me if it blends in with my feed.
Actually, thinking about it now, Jerry, so, like, one thing I think Instagram does, so if you're, like, on your phone looking up boots just off of Google or whatever, if you scroll through Instagram, it'll pop up with, like, Ariat boots or Justin boots. I think it kind of connects to what you've been researching. Because I was looking up some new boots to buy, and it popped up on Instagram. Ariat did. It's a brand, and I clicked on that the other day.
I see. So what I'm getting at is, one is if it really blends in. So there's a concept called native advertising. If it really blends in with what you're looking at, then you might accidentally click it. And then more actively, if it really is something you're interested in, if, like they really understood, whether through your browsing habits, that you really want to see something like that, then you might actively actually click on it.
Yeah, of course.
I think that ties into Facebook as well, because I see that a lot on Facebook. Like if I click one ad, so like for example, I'm into like essential oils. If I click on one ad, it'll show up with like that what is it, Monique? The pen, the essential oil pen.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Every time. So yeah, I think that is something that I see a lot on Facebook as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, following up on this advertising thing, is there any type of ad that you really wish you saw more? And then are there any types of ads that you just are so sick of seeing you don't ever want to see them again?
I think for me, I like to see ads that are local businesses. You know, I really don't want to order something that is from a different country and it takes forever. That's just kind of a setback. But I have never seen an ad for a local business, and I think that that's something that I'm more interested in.
I think that I would like to see more, like, ads towards stuff that I'm into compared to, like, the house, like, come buy a house or, like, mortgages or, like, the credit card stuff. I would rather see more of the stuff that I'm into than all of that.
I kind of agree with KITT. Yep, KITT. I'm just checking with KITT because I want to see stuff about the community, like about the voting. I did not see a single post about voting and stuff. And I know maybe it was overkill. A lot of people were posting stuff. But instead I see advertisements for McDonald's and huge name brand stuff. I rather see really local, community-oriented stuff.
I continually see like ads for games, and it's always the same game. It needs to change.
Oh, I see. Yeah, sometimes I know they can pay for ads that can be shown a few times to people, and of course those ads are not always effective, especially if it's someone who obviously is not interested in it.
Yeah. I guess going back to the advertisement on like Facebook, I had tried local advertising for an event that I was pulling together for my internship. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but it was the Dare to Dream event 2018. Well, it's about like student opportunities and stuff. And I had tried to advertise it on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat, and it just like kind of failed a little bit. It was really hard. So I just don't really understand that concept. Like if we started a local advertising platform, if it would actually work or not.
Yeah, it's something I struggle with too, and that's why I'm asking you guys so much about that, because I try to target people all the time, and it always like doesn't go the way I want it to. And then the company I used to work for, they had a lot of money to throw around. That's why they would do this, but they would target so vaguely, and then just like it's almost like it's the wrong reason for doing advertising. It's like, I thought advertising was you trying to target the people who want it, but instead they would target so vaguely, so it would be shown to so many people and spend so much of their money. But of course, that would mean the people who did want to see it would eventually see it too. It's like if you had a lot of money, then you could toss it into advertising. But for people who are entrepreneurs who may not have that much money, that's not what advertising is. So it's something that I've been thinking about a lot. That's why I'm asking you guys these questions.
Yeah, I just want to say that I had tried that. So we were doing a giveaway at the event for a free pair of Beats headphones, and it was posted on, there's 4 interns, and each intern had posted it on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. And we only, out of 800 people that attended, we only had 8 people enter the giveaway. So that was very hard.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, we should definitely talk about this more. So connect with me afterwards because, I'll tell you, every company is struggling with the same thing. That's why Facebook's always having trouble with this stuff. And somehow the Russians figured it out and they messed with our license, but we can't figure it out ourselves, right? What does that say about Facebook? But I'm gonna go back on. If you have a thought, express it now, and then I'll move on to my next set of questions.
I'm actually in a marketing class right now, and it sounds like you guys need to really focus in on your target market. You need to work within your demographics. So your demographics are your age, gender, ethnic background, marital status, that kind of stuff. So you need to identify who you want your message to reach and where you want it to go, because then you'll have a better outcome.
I think that I'll definitely use that next time. What we had done is our target was students, high school students, specifically more juniors and seniors, and we had went to schools' homecoming games with a big poster and tried to do it that way. So I'm not sure what happened.
You could have also, if you could have talked to some of the people in the booth, they could have helped you out with that. They could have announced it, so then people would have been interested. They could have said where you are, so people that are interested can go over and talk to you about it.
Right, yeah. I did post on Snapchat that we were at the concessions, and regardless, I'm very happy with how the event went. It was a complete success. We had over 750 people attend, but it was just that little giveaway part that we were having a hard time with. So
I see.
you.
That's something really interesting. That's something definitely worth exploring more. So we can explore that later in the future. But thanks for sharing that, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
So my next set of questions is related to where you guys turn to when, let's say, you guys need advice or need help. So let me know. Do you guys use apps? Do you guys go online? Do you guys ask people?
I'll take this one just because I feel I don't know, I have a lot of experience in all this. So I do have a mentor, and I do have a very involved family, so I have many options of people to talk to. But even though I have all these options, not to sound selfish, it's not always what you want, The same opinions don't always help you, and I find myself reaching out to people I would never talk to, just maybe not revealing personal information, but just getting their opinion on things. I need new perspectives and stuff. Maybe you've grown up with the same people and you've been surrounding yourself with the same 4 or 5 kids, and those kids might not be bad, but you always need to reach out and stuff and just explore your other options. So
And where, for example, do you go? Where do you reach out? Who do you reach out to?
Usually it'll actually be just the slightest connection in class. If I have the slightest connection with someone, I really want to make that connection. That's really important to me. If I think they're an okay person, I will really reach out. Because a lot of people, they don't do that. They don't make that personal connection. I don't see that enough where people actually want to get to know someone. They usually use it for their own benefit and stuff. And you mentioned, using apps and stuff. I'm not sure if you mean, those therapy apps where you can...
Yeah, so for example, there are therapy apps, or maybe there are apps I used an app for a while that just taught me to meditate. So like
Yeah.
apps like that, or sometimes I remember in college I'd be searching stuff like how to do this or how to do that. Like, do you guys do any of that?
I think like social media and the apps is a really good platform if you're into it. It's really hard to get started because if you're feeling like lost or alone or like whatever, you're looking for something specific, you're not always going to find it. You're not going to connect with that online friend or therapist who you're talking to right away. But if you are really open-minded and you know kind of what you're looking for, I think you can totally do it. Everyone's completely different though. Some people need like face-to-face connection and other people can't actually handle that. They just want, they want the advice, but they don't want to explain themselves or be judged and stuff. So I think all the apps and the online community is a really good option.
Okay, so I have two comments off of that. So my first one is, me personally, I am basically best friends with my mom. So I always go to her if I'm having a problem. But if I'm looking for more of a friend perspective, I have my best friend at Rock Valley College. And it's interesting what you said. You had said that like around old friends, it's like kind of harder.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Olivia, she like just came into my life maybe a year and a half ago, and I find it really, really easy to talk to her. So I feel like part of it is just finding that one person, and it can take some time. And
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people get discouraged along the way. And also, along with the advertising part of this, I know that there are websites like Talkspace for like therapy, but see, us as the younger generations, we're not inclined to do research on it. We more are looking for something that is on social media. And I have never seen a single therapy platform or meditation app being advertised on social media. So maybe that's also something that us as a society can work on.
A lot of
Yeah.
the time, I feel like it's almost like shunned or like, let's just not talk about it. And even if it's not a serious issue, like even if you're just, having a hard time, it's like on social media, you kind of feel like people are going to judge you and you shouldn't put your information out there. And of course, you want to be select what you put out there, but sometimes that might be an outlet is going to social media, but it's hard when mental health or other stressors are shunned upon and stuff and not talked about and neglected.
I agree.
So personally for me, like you, my mom is my best friend. I talk to her about everything, like everything. But if I had to pick another person, I'd probably say my best friend. She also comes to BizTank. And like you guys were saying, if I wanted to talk to someone that's like more detached from my life but still a part of my life, I would like, because I have friends that go to other schools, I'd probably reach out to them and just talk to them about it. Like they're still good friends. I just don't see them all the time, and they're not dealing with the same issues I am.
I do find that too, like friends from other schools, when you connect with them, even if it's through text messaging or face-to-face conversations, when you guys connect, they're like more understanding than somebody that you do see every day. So that's something I also experience.
I have a question for you, Jerry.
Yeah.
I feel like you can relate to this, the having connections who don't or aren't like there going through it with you. Do you find yourself reaching out to your friends and family in China just because they aren't with you in the situation to judge you? They can just hear your opinion and they can give you advice?
Yeah, sometimes I found that useful, and I didn't realize how useful that'd be until this time when I was in China, and I would talk to some of them, and I realized, yeah, they're so far removed from all the drama, let's say here, right, that they can give you a fresh perspective, and sometimes their fresh perspective is clouded with Chinese culture, so it might not be useful, but at least it's a fresh perspective. So yeah, that's absolutely the case for me.
So for me, Jerry, it's more depending on like what I need to talk about or what it is, but I more do it around the people I'm surrounded by. So like the older guys at work, if I have questions about like a career or like advice like that, I'll go to them. But most of the time I'll go to my wrestling coach or my like small group of really good friends. That's who I'll go to for what I have questions about.
That's nice.
I see. And it shows that like face-to-face interactions are so important still, or even more important than ever in our hyper-connected community. So it's actually very enlightening to hear you guys say this, because I thought you guys would just be like, let's search stuff online, but it looks like The face-to-face thing is still very much number one.
Yeah, I don't really trust online or Google to give me advice.
I've never really heard of people going online or like on the apps or anything looking for advice. Or most of the time it's.
I mean, I know it
your
exists, but it's not what I look for. I look for more of a personal connection, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like you don't want it, if you're gonna go to an app, it's gonna be like automated and it's not personal.
Right.
It's not like they're there in the situation with you.
And there's a lot more meaning to it when you do it in person, face to face, with that kind of contact.
Yeah.
There's a lot more meaning to what you're talking about. A lot more feeling to it.
There's this actually very this bridges very well into my next question, which is, how do you guys feel about the future? In your perspective, like, how do you guys feel about being Americans? How do you guys feel about whether you're optimistic about you growing up in this future America?
So I think my experience is very, very different from everybody else's. I don't regret this at all, but I guess my life is moving very, very fast. I got the opportunity for a scholarship to go to college starting my junior year, like full time. And that was something that was a huge transition that I went through. But I'm feeling pretty good about the future right now. I think I'm going to go to Northern Illinois University and make up for that time that was lost. I plan on kind of at NAU being a part-time student, just so I can also live my life, because I think that these last 2 years I've found it very hard. I mean, I pretty much didn't get much of a high school experience. I only went to high school for my freshman and sophomore year.
I see.
I don't want to say I'm scared of the future coming up, because I'm not. It's just more of it's a big decision, being that we are juniors and seniors here, to figure out what you want to do. They're not pushing you. You don't have to make a decision right away, but you're going to have to start coming up with it pretty soon, because you need to go one path or another. And I guess it's just kind of nerve-wracking not knowing what I want to do yet. So it's just, you don't want to fall behind, and you don't want to just fall off while everyone's excelling. You just want to be, it's always been planned from school going up, and now it's up to you. It's just a big decision.
I guess I have a little bit of advice on that, because when I had first started college and I was 16 and I was so naive, and I was oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do criminal justice. I'm going to become a cop. And then I tried the criminal justice class, and after the first day I dropped it because I just couldn't do it. And so that's when I started to explore other career paths. And I think your first year, at least your first semester, don't go in thinking that you're going to do this one thing, because then you're going to take the class and actually learn about it, and it's just not going to be what you thought. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I'd agree with everyone. It's just really intimidating. Everyone says it's okay not to know what you want to do, but sometime you got to figure it out, and that's intimidating. I want to know right now. When am I going to figure it out? I feel like I'm falling behind sometimes.
I'm probably the youngest person in here. I'm 16, just turned 16. But I have a pretty good plan. I want to be a business major and eventually own my own business, but I'm kind of nervous that I'm going to start up this venture and it's going to fail.
I see. I think that's common for anyone who wants to do their own thing. And the best advice I have for that specific fear is just have to do it. I mean, most people I know, even that Chinese company that I worked for, right? They have some of the biggest apps right now in China and in America. But that CEO failed 5 times before he started that company. So you talk to a lot of people, very few people do the Bill Gates thing and get it right the first time. I'm let's Steve Jobs. I'm pretty sure Steve Jobs had it rough for a long time too. So
what was one
dude,
of
I could tell you from my perspective. I mean, I've had rough times too, but you just keep pushing through. You keep learning. Don't keep repeating the same thing, right? Then that's a sign of madness. But keep going, but learn from it, and then eventually you'll get there.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is what is one of your bigger failures, if you're okay to share that?
I think probably the one that really comes to mind is and part of it was just I was too young, right? And my first full-time job was the Fox 29 in Philadelphia. So I really, what I should have done was after I quit Fox 29 and I went into PR, I was working PR part-time and building my own channels. They did want me to work for them full-time, and I just wasn't, like, my head was not in the right place. Like, a lot of things happened. Like, one of my good friends died. So, like, I didn't want to be in Philly anymore. And I let those emotions cloud my judgment. I should have accepted that job in PR full-time for a little bit. Like, work PR for another year. Then I would have had news experience, which, like, has benefited me so much. But if I had a little bit more PR experience, that would benefit me even more. And then, like, I'd be even more powerful as a person. So that's my one regret. So the lesson is sometimes, like, step back from your surroundings and don't let other sources of bad emotion affect your judgment towards a career field or, taking a job or whatever. Because I really honestly thought about it. I'm like, I should have worked that PR gig for a little bit. What happened was I don't want to be in Philly anymore, so I went back home a little bit to try to build my channel at home, and home just wasn't the right place at the time for it. So I went to LA for a little bit. So it's like I could have done it smarter, basically.
All right, Jerry, thank you. But we're going to start winding it down over here in the studio. So thank you so much for joining us over the phone. We really appreciate your insight.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Absolutely. Awesome, guys. Take care.
All right, Kids in the Tank, out.